Hi, everybody. Today I'm covering the trial of Laken Riley. She was murdered on February 22nd, 2024 by the alleged murderer, kidnapper, Jose Ibarra, who was a Venezuelan immigrant. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm back. I started this trial on Friday by covering the live opening statements and first few witnesses, but I'm going to recap those sort of in a story format so you can get an idea of what's going on in this case. The first few witnesses were lay witnesses, first responders, and I'm going to try to put it together in some sort of a timeline so you can kind of get a flavor for what's going on in this case. State of Georgia is prosecuting Jose Ibarra for 10 counts. They include felony murder, kidnapping, aggravated assault with intent to sexually assault her, aggravated battery, hindering prosecution, and tampering with evidence. But one more charge, not related to Laken Riley, but they got to throw it in there, the peeping Tom statute. And it is literally like Jerry, who was in the chat, she and I were like, peeping Tom? Yes, the statute literally says peeping Tom. But this is related to activity that Jose was conducting before he focused on Laken Riley. Why do I keep saying Lincoln? Laken Riley that morning. So different victim. Yeah. He was just, he set out that morning and I don't know what he was thinking. Or was he thinking? Allegedly, he's innocent until proven guilty. But I will tell you, this is a case that Donald Trump, President-elect Donald Trump, used during his campaign as an example of how immigrants are coming into this country and murdering our citizens. Now, my hope is this was an isolated event, that not every single immigrant coming into this country is a murderer. And we don't even know if this guy was. He was living in an apartment with several other individuals, also from Venezuela, who are now in federal custody on immigration issues, I suspect awaiting deportation, because they're all here illegally. They had fake green cards at the time that they were apprehended. So this happens on February 22nd of 2024 on the campus of the University of Georgia near the intramural field. So you're going to hear a lot of talk about the IMF. There's some initials for it. They're talking about the intramural field. There's a trail that runs behind that field where people can run, and often did. Now, Laken lived in university housing. She did not go to the University of Georgia. She did, but she transferred to another university, which was Augusta College of Nursing. She was going to nursing school. She's 22 years old at the time of this event. And she and her roommate Connolly liked to start their morning out by going on a run. This particular morning, Connolly had classes. She had 2 classes that morning. So Laken would go by herself. And this was not unusual for her to go by herself. Now that morning she gets dressed. There is camera footage, and this is trail camera footage. I'm going to digress here for a second. For all of you illegal immigrants out there, if you're considering coming into this country or you're already here, take note. We have cameras everywhere you can think of. We have cameras, and we have very sophisticated phones. We have cameras on the trails. We've got cameras on the apartments. We've got cameras at the university. You can't go anywhere in this country where there isn't a camera. So just telling you. Okay, back to the show. All right. So here's what she was wearing on the day she left. This is her leaving her home, just after she leaves her home. And she is wearing Lululemon tops and bottoms. She thinks she has a shirt on underneath of it. She's also wearing Hoka shoes, which I never heard of Hoka shoes, but interesting. And she had her white AirPods in her ears and a Garmin watch that she had gotten for Christmas. So she was ready to go. And this girl could do an 8-minute mile or better. Like that was just her average jogging pace, 8-minute mile. That's pretty darn fast. She could do a 6 miles in under an hour, which is key because her and her roommates, they all use this app called Find My iPhone. And I don't know if I guess you have to have an iPhone. You would have all had to have iPhones. I'm not sure about that because I've never used that app. But anyway, at any time, they could look on their phones and see where their roommates were at. All right, that's going to come into play here. So the prosecutor, during her opening statement, went through this very nice, neat timeline. This is a trial by the bench. The defendant has opted for a bench trial, which means the evidence is being heard by the judge. There is no jury here, which is kind of nice for us as the audience because we don't get to sit through all those sidebars. Thank God, no sidebars. Okay. So at 9:05, Laken was seen running south on Millage Avenue Extension. She was holding her cell phone in her left hand. And that's the photo that I just showed you. At 9:11 a.m., Laken's cell phone calls 911, and the cell phone was answered by the dispatcher. There was no response from Laken, but I want to play the cell phone call for you. It's interesting. You're going to hear it's an enhanced, they sent it up to Quantico. The FBI enhanced this call, and it has been entered into evidence and played for the judge by agreement of the both parties. Defense attorneys are not objecting. I'm going to tell you right now, so from what I've seen, they're not doing a whole lot to defend this guy. But their defense is interesting. It's very interesting because one of the people that he lived in the apartments with was his brother Diego Ibarra, El Gacho. Yeah, just keep that in mind. Okay, because, yeah, it's coming. You're going to guess where I'm going with this. Let me play this call for you and listen to see if there is a voice. And I do know what this voice is saying. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Clark County 911. Hello, this is Clark County 911. Hello, Clark County 911. Can anyone hear me? Clark County 911.
So that's the call. You hear someone say in Spanish, "Yo tengo." I did not know what that means. So I did look it up, and according to Spanish Togo app, it means hold on, I'll tell you what they say it means. You guys out there in Spanish are laughing at me right now. I know you are. Okay. Okay, when someone says yo tango, they are simply saying I have in English. So I don't know how contextually that plays into this case, but maybe it'll have more meaning later on. In any case, did you notice during that phone call how his body language, like his breathing, he's like his breathing is very fast. His eyes are all over the place. Like he's not comfortable with this phone call. I don't know if it's because he realizes that's my voice on the other side. They got me on this sophisticated iPhone. Not sure. In any case, the caller hangs up. It is not 911 that releases that phone call. It is the caller who hangs up that call. That's going to come into play later on during the forensic evidence. So watch the bouncing ball. Anyway, so the dispatcher calls, she activates the emergency function, calls them back, calls the phone back. No answer, no response. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about her roommates now. I'm skipping around here a little bit. So Lily Heiner was one of the roommates. That day she was running errands, and she ran some errands, came home, ran some more errands, and then came home. So that morning when she got up, she left around 9:30, and she said Laken was not there when she got up that morning. So she didn't see her that morning. She comes downstairs. Laken's not in her usual spot because she wanted to go have coffee with her. She wasn't there. Laken did have a class at noon, I think. And according to her roommates, she never missed class. She does not miss class. So she runs her errands. She comes home after the first set of errands. Well, when she saw that she wasn't up that morning, she looked at her app. She saw that she was on the trail, that Laken was running on the trail. Then at 10:45, when she comes home from her first set of errands, Laken is not home. Now, here's the other thing. There's no cell phone service that day. This is the day that AT&T had this huge outage. And the only way you could use your phone is if you were connected to a Wi-Fi. So if you were out driving in your car, you were not going to be able to use your phone. So at 10:45, when she gets back home from running her errands, she checks her phone because now she's attached to Wi-Fi. She can check her phone. She looks and she sees that Laken is in the same location. Now, I told you Laken can run 6 miles under an hour and should have been home already, getting ready for her class. Not there. So she's texting her roommates at this point. Have you seen Laken? You know what's going on with Laken. So at 11:30, she goes and runs the rest of her errands. She comes home at 11:30. She attaches to the Wi-Fi again. She meets Sophia, the third roommate, greets her and says, "Let's go look for Laken. Still not home." So that's important. Let me tell you about Sophia. Sophia is a teacher now. She graduated from the University of Georgia. That morning, she was taking her GACE exam, which is the exam you take to become certified as a teacher in Georgia. She had left the home around 8:20 that morning. When she left, in the kitchen were Laken and Connolly, the fourth roommate. And she took her test from 8:45 till 11:15-ish, and then she drove home. When she gets home, now her phone is working because it's attached to a Wi-Fi. She's getting all these messages, and she gets, which includes texts and phone calls from Laken and from Connolly and Lauren. Lauren is Laken's sister. And she looked for her around the house. She's not finding her. So she puts the dogs on the leash. She puts the dog on the leash and says, thinks to herself, I'm going to go find her. As she's leaving the house, Lily pulls up from running her errands, and they go together to walk the trail to where that location is on that app to see what's going on with Laken. And I want to play the testimony of Sophia as she talks. They show a map to the judge of where she looked for Laken.
You got the other one? Okay.
And that's one of the be better.
I think she's got, yeah.
If you could show His Honor, what direction did you and Champ and Lily go, and where were you when you found an AirPod?
So we started here, and then right about here
At the end of the
at Millage, where it
Millage
turned
Avenue?
into a sidewalk.
Okay.
We got to the sidewalk, and then there's the train tracks like right here, and there's a little like trail that's just been walked over a lot. So we went down the trail, and then crossed over the train tracks, and then walked this
Around the retaining pond?
Yes,
on
ma'am,
the side
around
of
the retaining
it?
pond.
All right.
Trying to stand up.
You may stand with the court's permission.
Yes.
Thank you. But keep your voice up so Madam Court Reporter can hear you.
Okay. So we walked here, and then this is where like the main trail starts. So we got over here. There's like a turn. So we took the curve and we stopped right about there.
Okay. So when you say there, is there a trail there?
Yes, ma'am. It's all a trail.
And that's on the top right part of State's Exhibit 5. For the record, I'm just making a record for the court. Okay.
So while she and Lily are looking, right about where she is, she finds on the side of the trail one of the AirPods. And they're like, how do you know this was Lily's AirPod? And she's like, because Lily had too much wax in her ear, and I could see the wax in the AirPod, so I knew it was Lily's AirPod. Laken's AirPod, not Lily. Too many L's. Laken's AirPod. So let's go back to the timeline. So this is around 11:31 when they left their house to go to the intramural fields running trails. At 11:46, they find the AirPod on one of the main trails located in between the holding pond and Lake Herrick at the intramural Oconee Forest area. And it's once they find the AirPod and they're not finding her, they call the University of Georgia Police Department. Now, this officer comes out and he's got body cam on. And they tell him what's going on, and he activates his body cam, and he's going to look for Laken on the trail. So they didn't play the entire 2 hours of body cam. It was edited. But I do want to play for you. Of course, the judge got to see the body cam. We don't see the body cam. We can hear it. But I want you to hear the moment he finds the body. Very interesting.
Too close. little bit further in. More tucked in. Been boarded. No. Oh shit. To the university, I found it. Ma'am, ma'am. Oh. I need EMS immediately to the location where the phone pings. Ma'am. She's down, she's not breathing. Potentially been attacked. Starting CPR now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
So he continues CPR while he's giving instructions. And then at some point, he activates his emergency beeper. This is when like they go down and, you know, other people need to find them. So it's this weird sound that's emitted so that they can figure out where he is at in this forest. He was about 50 foot off of the trail when he found her. He actually had his, I don't know if he had one of the girls' phones, but he was looking to see where it pinged last, and he had it, and that's why he kept going in a certain direction. So he described, now, before this footage was shown to the courtroom, because the audience got to see it as well, the judge, he was so sweet. Before you show it, Madam Prosecutor, if anybody's in here, because once the roommates were done testifying, they stayed in the courtroom. If anyone is in here that does not want to see this, now would be the time to leave the courtroom. And some people did leave, and some people stayed. So he described what he saw when he found her. He said her shirt was up around her breast, and it looked like it had been done one of two ways, either deliberately, or it got up that way when she might have been drugged, you know, into off the trail to where she was resting when he found her. Her pants were on, but the underwear was bunched up and out of the top of what she was wearing. She was on her side. She was covered with leaves and vegetation. So at this point, he continues CPR until firefighter paramedics get to there. They take over CPR. They put her on a defibrillating, you know, automatic external defibrillator, AED machine, which is annoying as hell. But, you know, they get all the pads on her, and she's got no shockable rhythm. So there's a different rhythm, like when you're dead, flatline. There's another rhythm that it's called pulseless electrical activity. If the heart's just kind of like doing this, where you can shock the person. Well, she did not have a shockable rhythm. I think she was, the officer said she was stiff. I don't even know why he started CPR. At that point, he should have just left the crime scene the way it was. But he starts CPR, and once you start, you can't stop. So they continue. The defibrillator actually talks to them and says, no shockable rhythm, continue CPR. They continue CPR. But she was gone. She had passed away. Now, let me tell you about the third roommate, Connolly. She woke up at 7:45 that morning. She had 2 classes. When she came downstairs after getting ready for her first class, Laken was in the kitchen. She said that's her usual spot. She's taking notes, doing her homework, watching Netflix. Like, she sounds like me. I'm doing like 14 things at the same time. Bless her heart. She said she sat down and started talking to her for about 45 minutes. So she described for the judge Laken's, running habits and things that she would wear and how good she was at running and that kind of thing. So the other witnesses that appeared on the stand that day, well, before I get there, let's go back to the opening statements. So after they find her, they bring out the crime scene investigators in the hole. This officer leaves, he sets up her perimeter, and the girls are all back at the intramural field, all 3 roommates now. By now, Connolly has joined them, and they're there till like 8:00 that night while everything's being processed. The scene is being processed. And meanwhile, what county are we in? We are in Athens-Clarke County. So the Athens-Clarke County police, they come out, as well as a crime scene investigator from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They're brought in when a local department needs assistance. So this university police department, they didn't have this. They had a crime scene person. He also testifies, but he goes out with the person from the GBI, and they start processing the crime scene. Meanwhile, this Athens County police officer, he starts his shift, and he is informed about this murder victim being found at the University of Georgia campus. I'm not sure how they figured out this guy, how they got to him. I'll have to go back and read that. But anyway, they find footage of this guy leaving he's at the bus stop, waiting for a bus stop. He's got on a black hat, a hoodie style jacket, black hoodie style jacket, kitchen style gloves, and he's on the University of Georgia campus. So this is caught on some footage. I guess this is how they figured it out. He's caught on some camera footage. So it's alleged that he bashed her skull in repeatedly. So we're going to be hearing from the medical examiner during this case. Apparently, Laken put up quite a fight. He had scratches all over him. The Georgia Bureau of Investigator, once she got done with the crime scene, she had to go. By the next day, she was called over to. By then, they had this guy in custody. She was called over to photograph his body, and he had scratches all over him. So, and it looked like there was a struggle over the phone because when they found that iPhone, the iPhone was not near her body. They had to actually, this GBI testify that she got down on her hands and knees and crawled around this area, finally found the phone. She said it was a very windy day. There's leaves blowing everywhere. Like the only way to really search was to just get down on your hands and knees. And she was able to find the phone. The phone had a very visible left thumbprint. This rarely happens. You guys know how I feel about fingerprint evidence. It's basically worthless because you never find anything that's of evidentiary value, or that they can, figure out who did what. But this was a very, very clear thumbprint, like right here on the phone. Let me see if I can find the thumbprint for you. My goodness. Here's the iPhone when they found it. It was buried in the leaves. And this is the thumbprint. That is pretty clear. But I might also say that it's right near where you would try to shut your phone. My iPhone doesn't shut off that way. Apparently hers might have been different, and you could shut it off by using something at the bottom of your phone. Mine does not. You can't shut mine off that way. But I think if I'm on a phone call, though, I don't know. She said the GBI person testified that underneath that thumbprint, you could see that there was the hang up button underneath there. I don't know. That's what she says. They did find the other AirPod. They found the Garmin watch. What else did they find at the scene? She took a lot of photographs. They found the fingerprint. Of course, we did not get to see any of the photographs. So once those photographs were shown, the judge said, go out and let those people know that they can come back in now. So, and they did return. So apparently, this Lake County officer who had just come on his shift and was informed about the murder, he decides he's going to go looking around in dumpsters to see if someone threw anything away. And he checks this one dumpster, and lo and behold, there's a jacket in this dumpster. So he calls everybody over, and they get the crime scene analyst over there. They photograph it before it's even touched. But when they finally do touch the jacket, the sleeves are ripped on the jacket. And there's a hair on the button. There's a hair wrapped around a button on the jacket. And not far from this same dumpster in the woods is a set of gloves. So they got those. So this officer also found on the road leading up to the dumpster, on the side of the road, there was a styrofoam cup, because they have footage of him at that bus stop. They knew what he was wearing. I told you what he was wearing, but he was also drinking something out of this cup, the styrofoam cup. They find this styrofoam cup, and he said he put it into evidence, smelled like alcohol, not coffee. And it was collected for DNA. And that was he said it was on the side of the road that was the main route to those trails. But near the dumpster, there was some apartments. And this officer noticed that there was a camera on one of the apartments that would have seen that dumpster. So they go and they collect that footage. Now, we didn't see the footage, but on this footage, they saw him putting the jacket into the dumpster and throwing something into the woods. Well, they saw a man that looked like him. Let's just say that. I think you know where I'm going with this. All right, I see I'm past 30 minutes. I'm going to see if I can wrap this up. So we get both of the crime scene people came and they testified. I think I've told you, one photographed the injuries on him. He had scratches on his hands, his left wrist, his back, his left neck, his arms. He had scratches all over his body. I think I have told you everything from day one. But except for the defense's opening, let me just tell you where the defense is going to go with this. They're going to challenge the DNA. DNA has gotten so sophisticated. Like it's in 3 different categories now. There's regular DNA, and the defendant's DNA was found on several things. Then there's what's called YSTR, which is a very, very recent thing that they've come out with DNA. It does a deeper dive. It allows them, before that, where they were not able to make a comparison on a profile. This takes it a little bit further, and now they are able to make a comparison. That's just the way I understood it. Suffice it to say, this has not been tested in a lot of courts. Well, it's going to get tested in this one because your DNA is very, very close to your brothers and sisters. And his brother, El Gacho, was there as well at that apartment where he was living. So this guy intends to blame this on his brother. What? Now, let me tell you just real quickly about the Peeping Tom thing. That morning, before he heads over to the University of Georgia campus, he is seen, a call had come through to 911, but not to the university police, to just the county dispatcher. And it later gets routed over to the University of Georgia because this girl says, I think someone's trying to break into my apartment. And he was just looking in the windows and stuff. Yeah, creepy. Peeping Tom. So he had a fake green card on him. Okay, I think that we're done. We're done with day one. 40 minutes later, we are done with day one. And I've condensed it. I have, but everything you need to know, I've set it all up for you. So we're probably going to hear from the medical examiner today and more forensic evidence. We're going to hear what DNA was collected and what it showed. And then the battle of the DNA it'll be on. So I will try to have a more proficient story of the DNA explanation of YSTR, because that's pretty important. So I will see you in tomorrow's video. I'm going to pick up my sister from the hospital. She's coming home. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.